Hello, friends. Today I'm doing one more, which is the last episode on the current topic of strategy, which is what is strategy and how to build a strategy. We've talked about what is strategy. We've talked predominantly about how to build a strategy. Today we are going to look, as we always say, check what you do. We are going to look at how to stress test, so to say, your strategy before activating it, and going to market with it. So we've looked at various aspects over the last maybe 4 episodes, I think, okay, on how you would, first of all, what is a strategy, how you would go on creating it, what are the factors that you need to consider, what is the research that you need to do, what are the foundation stones or pillars that you need to establish before really building a strategy. But now that you have built a strategy, okay, you've looked at various aspects. You've looked at possible variables. You've looked at whether those variables will work or not. You've looked at all the things that one needs to do right to build a proper, robust strategy. But even then, since strategy is such an important thing, it's a long-term goal of the company. It has an action map on how the company is going to attain the goal. So it is only natural that one is prudent enough to go and re-stress test that strategy to be sure that it is exactly the way you want it and it is going to perform the way you need to look at it. Okay. So what are some of the aspects that you need to check when you are stress testing? I love this word stress test. So you'll find me emphasizing on it very often. Yeah? So, and well, it comes from the fact that the amount of stress tests that I have had to do for my medical challenges, it's from there. I mean, everything needs to go through that to know whether you're fit or not, and the same way as whether your strategy is fit or not. So some of the things that you need to, some of the questions you need to ask, let me put it more like that, is the first point is this strategy going to help your organization to beat the market and become the major player in that space? This is one of the first things you need. And the second thing you need to look at, you remember I talked of that special thing and how much you're willing to bend it to make sure that that special thing remains special? You need to be sure that your strategy identifies and embellishes that special offering. We'll come to communication later, where you have to make sure that that special goes out in your communications in a very precise and a standout manner. Is your strategy focusing on your playing space? What I mean by playing space is your product, your category of product, the space that you are going to be marketing and selling that product. Is the strategy focusing on that? And is it identifying it correctly as of today? And also consider the options for the future. And of course, you have to do the what ifs and if thens for each of those future options, including the current one. Does your strategy include what it takes to stay ahead of the trends and the competition? So what I mean here is we talked of innovation and continuous improvement. You need to be sure that your strategy is taking care of this. You need to consider whether your strategy is taking care of all the insights. It is considering all the insights that you have had, which is generic insight, which you find readily available in the market from a market study. But more importantly, whether your personalized, privileged insights, so to say, because those are available only to you, because those insights come from the results of the survey or surveys that you have undertaken. So does your strategy consider all of these insights and make sure that it follows what those insights dictate. Is it uncertainty ready? In today's world, as I've said often enough, we are in a fast changing and an uncertain world in various aspects, as far as product development is concerned, service operations are concerned, as far as the geopolitical situations are concerned, as long as supply chains are concerned. In so many ways, you are uncertain about so many things. So is your strategy uncertainty ready? Very important aspect to consider in strategy is whether it rightly balances commitment and flexibility. As I said, your strategy needs to be agile, because as your variables change, you need to be able to tweak your strategy rapidly to stay ahead of the game. But at the same time, you need to be committed on your final goals. It's when your strategy changes, most often than not, well, in fact, most of the time, your final goals don't change. It's your methodology, it's your map going to change, and therefore the strategy needs to be tweaked according to that. So does it balance commitment and flexibility? And is your strategy unbiased? That's very important. Okay. So I think we discussed this in the last episode, but are all your stakeholders convinced, and is there enough conviction for them to act on the strategy? We talked of the wants and desires of the stakeholder. We discussed what you would want from each of the stakeholders, whether it's your vendor, customer, investor, employees, whoever it is that we are talking of. So is there conviction from all of the stakeholders to go ahead with the strategy? And of course, because the strategy is incomplete without it, is there an action robust plan, a map for you to move towards your strategic goals? Okay. What you need to consider is, does it have a feedback mechanism? See, very often, let me give you an example that I had heard in one of the sessions I was doing many, many years back, is that, okay, you have decided to go to Pune because you are going to meet a client there. Now, you start out of Mumbai, which is a fair thing to do because you need to make sure that you are reaching there on time, and you know that there is a certain finite time required to reach that. But somewhere along the way, when you stop for a coffee, or even if you're just driving out, pick up the phone and ask the client, are we still on? Because if that parameter has changed, if your final goal has changed, is there any point in continuing all the way to Goa, all the way to Pune? No. So you need to check whether you still want to get there and whether the reason why you are going there is still valid and in action or not. So you need a feedback mechanism, because at any time, if you feel the strategy is going wrong or the goals have shifted, then you need to change your strategy. Then it's not a question of tweaking it. Okay, so you need to have that feedback mechanism. And very importantly, I think this is something that we all need to understand. More often than not, we are product focused when we talk of strategy. While that is a good thing, and you should be, but your primary focus should not be product. Your primary focus should be your customer. Because products change, product offerings change. I mean, let's take an example. When you're product focused, also, if you're not at the same time tech focused, you are in for trouble. And the examples that I can give you are plenty. Take Kodak, for example. Take Blockbuster, for example. See, what happens is these large organizations very often think they've been in the business for so long, they have the biggest market share, and so many other things, and therefore they are bound to succeed. That's where they go wrong. Because the consumer needs, consumer desires, consumers' way of imbibing, of using the product changes, your product and your delivery needs to change accordingly. It's not to say that Kodak did not invest in digital photography. They did, but not with the right strategy. Blockbuster, of course, missed the boat completely. And these are the companies that have totally failed. They are in oblivion right now. So at all times, you must check that you are customer focused. What your customer needs, is your product doing that? Otherwise, change the product, not the strategy. Yeah. Now, when we speak of variables that one needs to consider, although we did look at some of the variables. Today, I'm going to spell out the variables because, as I said, we are right now in the process of vetting our strategy that we have already made. Okay, so what are the possible actions that a competitor can take? New products, new services, new offerings, new pricing. You need to be aware of this all the time. And again, it's about the stakeholders. They're changing desires. They're changing capabilities to deliver what you want. They're changing expectations from the organization. And changing market environments. Today, market environments change pretty rapidly. Okay, so whether the market environments are changing with respect to your product category, if it's changing for everything else, don't worry. It's your product category, your space that you need to be worried about, and of course, your future space that you intend to be in. Okay, so, and as I said, you need to define your competitive space. Okay, monitor key players, have a person or a team whose essential job is to monitor all the key competitors. Check regularly for what they are doing, new service offerings, new pricing, as we just said, whatever the things that you need to check on the competitors. And in today's time, this is something I've added just recently, is your strategy AI ready? Today, everything is about AI. Very often I've been told that why the hell do I write my own content? Just get AI to write it for me. Unfortunately, I'm not that tech savvy. Or, well, I don't know whether it's fortunately or unfortunately, but I don't believe in that. I believe in what I talk of from my experiences. So make sure your strategy is AI ready. Okay. What are the actions that one would take when variables change? And in this, at a recent workshop, I had given the example of the mobility space. You have various vehicles, so to say, of mobility, right from the cycle to the scooter, motorcycle, car, truck, plane, ship, various other things. Let's take just the space of the car. Okay, you have the traditional manufacturers like the Volkswagen or the Ford or the whatever, you know what I'm talking about. Then you have the new generation car manufacturers, the likes of Tesla. Now we've already seen how these big players have a strategy which incorporates this, and they probably were future ready, is that all of them now offer you electric cars. Okay, it makes a big difference. Then the newest trend is all the aggregators like the Uber and the Ola. I know so many youngsters from the Gen Z, okay, who don't want to buy a car. They say, I can get an Ola on demand or I can get an Uber on demand. For me, it's a chauffeur-driven car. In a city like Mumbai, where I reside, you don't have to worry about finding parking space, because in Mumbai, anywhere you go, parking space is generally a big issue. They prefer Ola or Uber. So these are all within that small frame. These are the various new options that have come out regarding the mobility of a person. I'm not talking of scooters. Yeah, they have their own set of rules. Like in Goa, there are scooters which are taxis. One person can travel, but they're very cost effective. So, and the invariable question in this is always who is going to win. More often than not, there will be a balancing. Okay, but you need to figure out and you need to be sure that you can stay ahead. Now, in such situations, you have to make sure that your strategy, which is long term and which has the economic repercussions of today and future embedded in them, your operations, which redefine and which validate your space that you are going to operate in, and the execution of the strategy, which is short term, which is tactical, which is very focused on sales and communication. You have to make sure that all of these are right, because only if these are all right can you possibly win. And you are here in the business to win. So you need to be sure that it happens. So how do you go about stress testing your strategy? Create teams. Create 3, 4, 5 teams, depending on how many employees you have. Give each team a sheet prepared which specifies your strategy, which specifies the key points that you want to stress test. Put them in different rooms. Give them dedicated time. Don't let them mix it up with their regular execution work. Ask them to look at different scenarios for that variable and possible solutions. Once you have this list from all the teams, sit down with each of those lists, get the whole team together, all the sub-teams together, and discuss and figure out what are the best roadmaps for changes in each of the variables. Note this down, and this becomes what I call your playbook, because this tells you what if, then, it's all spelled out. So prepare this thing, the playbook. Okay, once this playbook is ready, and you have to play this game. Why do I call it a game? Because it's a playbook. You have to play this game at least once a year, at least annually. I would prefer it to do it biannually. In today's world, with the super fast changes that keep happening all over the place, play this game annually at least. And once this playbook is ready, trust me, you are ready to activate your strategy. And your strategy is robust enough for you to confidently move towards your strategic goals with a far greater certainty of success than one would otherwise imagine. With this, I end my strategy sessions. We're going to talk of something different next time. I hope you enjoyed the sessions. If you have any questions, again, please let me know. Some of you have asked me questions over the weekend. I will be responding to them only by the weekend because I've been a little busy, but you will definitely get an answer. Thank you and have a great day.